It's another week's episode of Simply Single, and here's the question of the week. Are you willing to cross boundary lines? You know, ladies, society has put up a lot of different boundary lines for a lot of different things, and that's what I want to tackle today. Are you willing to cross boundary lines? And there are a lot if you think about them. You've got physical boundary lines. Would you date someone who's overweight or obese, someone with a disability who's blind or has other physical disabilities, deaf maybe, or hearing impaired, I should say, and or anything like that? We've got race, we have height, we've got a lot that we could talk about. So in this first segment here, let's look at age, let's look at physical differences. Would you cross boundary lines to date someone with either of those issues?
I'm itching, I'm sorry. Age, for me, there is a boundary on age. My son is 17 years old. Okay, he's about to go to college. I am not dating someone who is 25 or under. It's too close to the age of my son. That's just too much. I'm not going to do it. That's a boundary. I don't care how many of them come up to me and say, "Oh, but you look like you're in college." No, just no. But, you know, it changes older. I think for me, I am 36, soon to be 37, and my boundaries for age above me doesn't really go above 45. Yeah, that's it.
So no 60-year-old
no
man
60-year-olds. I'm sorry. Then you're walking on the line of my father. I'm not trying to date my dad. And there's other things that come along with dating a person who's much older than you. They're in a different time in their life. They're taking care of their parents. They may have health conditions. I'm looking for someone in that nice little median range that is dealing with the same things, has the knee that doesn't quite bend the way you want it to anymore. That type of stuff.
That knee bending is important.
It is important.
Anybody else? Is age a big restriction for you?
Yes.
Okay, you said that quickly.
You know it.
So explain.
Well, I told you. I was married when I was 23 and my husband was 45.
Wow.
Big mistake. Big mistake. I knew from the beginning. I was not comfortable. I was never comfortable. And please do not do the same mistake. It's a mistake. We are, like you said, in different stages of life. God made us. He has a plan for us to be walking together. You cannot force one to go into somebody else's lives. Age is a big mistake. It cannot be very different. Please don't do it.
Well, good. I don't want you to go into minute detail, but what were some of the things about the age difference? Because that's what a 22 year age difference. What were some of the things that made you uncomfortable?
Well, one of the things is that I still had my life to live. I still was waiting to go to school. He had everything figured out. He had his career, he had everything. So, and he became very jealous. He didn't want me to go to college because those are the young guys there. So he made obstacles for me not to go my own way, to live my own life, my own dreams, you know. So that was terrible. I felt like I was in a cage. So after he died, then I started to live my own life again. That's why I decided that I would not marry until I had my main plans figured out and, done.
So the main issue was that he was creating obstacles for you to grow and advance when you were just beginning at 23.
Exactly.
But what if he didn't do that?
I have to say, when I was in my late 20s, I mean, if you were less than 10 years older than me, not that you were boring, but like I really didn't care what MTV was doing, and I really didn't care about whatever. They didn't have anything of value to really talk to me about. And you can only look at someone for so long before you've got to have a decent conversation. And I dated throughout my late 20s. All the guys I was in a serious relationship were over the age of 40, and they were not threatened by an ambitious woman. They had things to talk about. They kept up with national news, international news. They had business ideas and plans and goals and could talk to me about investing. And the average 28-year-old guy's like, "Hey, you want to go do shots tonight?" Like, no.
I'm 28 now.
And I mean, at that point in my life. Now I'm 36. I'm an older guy still doesn't bother me. Now younger men, I mean, I don't like to play on the playground. So and I still struggle with men my age, and that's we've talked before about how men mature slower. So the age thing isn't an issue for me. And we talked about obesity or whatever. That's not really an issue for me. I like alpha males. I like those top dogs. I like those winners. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And they come in all shapes and sizes. And I care more that a man's got some swagger about him than what he looks like. Because I have dated some grown men who were very well put together, but they're working out at the gym every day because they're insecure and they're scared about what everybody else thinks, and they're trying to deflect criticism. As opposed to there are those that aren't the physical package, but they got it together, and they're in charge. And they have a direction they're going, and that's what I'm attracted to, is more the swagger of an alpha male.
Okay. I have had, two experiences of dating younger men who were, one was 13 years younger and one was almost 15 years younger than me. And it seems like whatever age I'm at this 56, that 25 to about 45 is what is attracted to me. The older men, which is what I want in my life, is not, so I tend to, but the problem with the younger men is that they want different things, they're still trying to find their way in life, and they still maybe want children, and my children were older, and there was lots of things that we agreed on, but certain things, as what they watched on television or different things, just didn't flow. But I think, though, that you still cannot just say that this is a package for everybody, like don't date somebody who's 15 years younger or older or whatever the case may be. It's a case by case person. It depends on that person, because I have known some people who their age difference is massive, but they are just so perfect for each other, and they really vibe well. And for me, I don't want anybody who's 15 years older, but I can't picture that I want a 60-year-old either right now, even though I'm closer to that age. The 60-year-old men that I see, we're not, I'm not going to sit on the sofa, and just watch reruns of Dallas or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and so it depends on that individual, but I don't think that you need to look at that person, like I say, the individual, not so much just the age or the size or the height or whatever the case may be, because we do miss out on a whole lot of valuable relationships because we feel like it has to be in the box. And for me, I'm the queen bee, so it's okay. If you don't have all of that, that's all right. I can carry it for both of us.
On that note, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll keep the discussion going. Stay with us.
Okay. 1 in 4 households.
40% of all women have never been married. Wait! Don't get weighed down in gloomy facts. Download this new ebook by Patrice Thomas Conwell. Follow her journey to accept and appreciate the single life. Nobody ever told me I might not get married. One woman's journey to acceptance. Available at these retailers and more. Okay. All right, so we're back and still looking at, are you willing to cross boundaries? Age, height, weight, disabilities, has anyone dated a man that has, a disability of some type?
I mean, my ex-husband was mentally disabled.
I was just going to say the same thing. Does mental
no, we're thinking more along the lines
of not a special diagnosis for it. I feel fairly certain.
Physical disability, but although that's that's a legitimate.
But one of my college roommates, she did marry a man who was blind. And she said it took a lot, and there was a lot of criticism behind it. And they dated extra.
Criticism about what?
You're going to have to be the one to drive all the time, and and how is that going to work? And he can't see, and so how are you going to feel as a woman? And what kind? Just a bunch of different criticisms that she got. And but she found it very fulfilling, and I was laughing because she says, I would marry a blind man again. It had a lot of advantages, that a seeing man didn't, because they see with their hands, right? Yeah. And but I think that you have to feel secure within yourself, and every relationship, I think there's a calling to it. I don't think everybody is called to certain kinds of relationships, and other people can. I've known people who can handle disabilities, and they're great together. Others can't, and so you have to know, who you are and how that fits, and not allow society to dictate, well, you're really interested in someone, but because this friend, the man is shorter, well, he's not really shorter than her, he's actually the same height, but she likes to wear really high heels, which makes her, and she didn't date him for like 5 or 6 years because of it,
I mean, when you say there are quite a few women who are, stuck in a height thing, that you don't want a man to be your height or significantly shorter than you.
Right.
We may miss a whole lot, like you said, because there are great guys that are not what other people think. Like they say, the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
Right.
Okay, so if you feel comfortable.
Well, I used to be in that boat, and I have to say, like, dating a man that is my height or shorter, I have just personal issues within myself, and I think every woman kind of struggles with feeling beautiful and feeling thin and dainty and feminine. And I have dated a man shorter than me before, and I felt like an albatross, and it wasn't. I'm not an albatross.
You felt like the alpha male?
I did, and it's a struggle, and that's when you're being physically intimate, just kissing or whatever. It's kind of nice to feel feminine,
right?
And that was a head issue for me, and I don't know if that's anything I'll ever get over, but that was a big enough thing to not try to get over.
And I was gonna say, with what Mindy says, is you have to know what is your issues. I know for me, well, anybody shorter than me, that I don't know if they're even a man. I know, no, but like I'm really short. But out of my issues, I need a man who I can feel like he can take charge, and he's got my back. And if something were happening in a deep, dark alley, I feel like I wouldn't have to be the one to protect us, that he could. But I do realize that is out of my issues, though. That is out of some very deep issues in my past. So I have to understand that. I may not ever get over that issue. I may have to have that, or I may not. I may be able to say, no, this is my issue, and I'm not going to let this stop me. But you have to understand why I can't have this, or this is just a no on all levels. It's important that you understand whether it's your issue or it's just what your preference is.
Well, let's talk about a huge boundary that we hear a lot about in media, and that's race. Would you ever date outside of your race? Is that a yes or?
Yes and yes, because I'm from Brazil. I grew up out of my country since I became adult, and I never really date a Brazilian man, which I would love to do so. Where are they? I don't know, unless I go back home. But I did date guys that I know. I almost married an African American. I was in love with an Asian before I got married before. I'm okay with it. If I feel comfortable, I don't care what. I already told my family, I am the one who's gonna live with him. I'll marry for myself. So, yes.
Okay, anybody else?
I've not dated outside my race. The men who have been outside of my race that have asked me out, it's, they're working part-time at Burger King, doing skateboards on the side or
wrong with
something.
that.
And I just take it as a compliment that it is and move on. But I have to say, these past few years of my life, I have learned a lot about culture. And so I grew up in Huntsville, which is one culture, and now I live in Marshall County, which is a whole nother. And there's nothing but a bunch of plain old white boys there who do expect, their family has a farm, and they think that they're going to build us a house on the family farm, and that I'm going to stay home and clean it. And good for you, but that's a culture. And so to me, a lot of times, a skin color indicates a culture.
Okay.
And, there's, in Marshall County, if you're an Indian man, you work at the gas station and you are probably Hindu. And, I don't mind you being Indian, I mind you being Hindu. And there's a lot of times in my world, that's skin color indicates culture more than anything. And so I'm not opposed to the skin color, it's just
whether or not you match with
certain things. I think like certain parts of your upbringing I read this the other day, it's carved into your heart. There are certain behaviors, there are certain outlooks, and they can be changed, but you don't just change a mindset. You have to go through a process, and you have to make it a point. And so I'm not saying you can't do that, but you've got to know that's an uphill battle. And, the Asians that I have been friends with, you take your shoes off before going in their house. Well, to me, shoes make the outfit. And
and you're not leaving yours at the door.
And I have before, and I have dated a man before where I had to take my shoes off before coming in his house. And that's like an everyday irk. And it's, is it a deal breaker? I don't know, but it adds up to other things.
Okay.
And so that's been my experience with it.
Well, I am open to, dating different races. I just never had them approach me in that kind of way. So for me, I'm not really going to put myself out there to, date
to
somebody.
invite that.
Yeah, I'm just not going to pursue a guy. I just don't feel right. But yeah, I'm open. That's all I'm saying.
Find her on Facebook.
Hey, I'm just joking.
Well,
I just never. I'm open to it though.
Okay, and that's a good thing. So when we come back, we'll finish addressing this a little bit more and then get ready to wrap it up. Stay tuned. Okay. Well, if you're just joining us, you missed the advertisement that God put out there saying that you are open for dating other races.
I am. I've always I've dated mixed guys or whatever. And I'm cool with it, but yeah, I've just never had guys outside my race try to talk to me.
Well, a little confession here is that
it's good for the soul.
Yeah, it is. I am, of a mixed culture of Asian, Filipino actually, and white and black. But I was raised in a very racist kind of family, is my parents, my black parents, taught me that you love everybody, and there's no different, whatever. But my dad was like, but you better not bring nothing home but a black man, you know. And so this white guy and I dated in college, and I was scared to death when he said he wanted to come home. Like, no, we're gonna need to break this off right here because you don't even understand where I'm from. And it has become a part of who I am, and I'm really struggling with that, you know. And it's funny, in Alabama, I'm from Florida, and you would think more Floridians would, be open, but Caucasian men and other races have approached me here in Alabama, and I'm all confused, like, aren't we in the South? Aren't we supposed to be, doing this whole thing? But I have really had to actually pray about that, and I'm finally getting to a place where I think I could maybe, I'm not open, but I'm considering. I might.
The door is not slammed shut.
Right. It's just a little, but yes, it's that we're supposed to all be loving and we love each other and all, but when it comes to mixed races, that's where I was raised. So I understand that it's out of my issues, and I would love to be able to move forward with that and be open to it. But it's going to have to be a special kind of man. He's going to have to really understand, those issues.
I know for me, I was always told, go for, who loves you and who you love.
Yeah.
It just so happens to be, for me, it is always a black male, black male. But even within that, you have cultural issues. You have Jamaicans.
Right.
You have men from Caribbean, like St. Thomas. You have men from the North, men from the South. And it's different. When I moved here to Huntsville, the first guy that approached me, very nice guy, his accent was so thick, I didn't understand what he was saying. I'm from the North, he's from here, and I just didn't get it. It didn't work for me, so I had to break that off. And now, dating a gentleman from the Caribbean, and we have so much more in common, and it's amazing. He says, I'm a Northern girl from the Caribbean because I've done some of the same things that they've done in their family, and I fit in there. So you just never know. It's not necessarily always outside of your race, even within it. There are different cultural issues, like Mickey was saying.
Well, and I'm sorry. Well, I've learned, I can't live in the country. I'm doing it right now. It's driving me insane. And I've got to have more amenities near me. And if one more person tells me I'm a city girl, I'm going to slap them. But there are cultural differences in living, in the Caribbean versus up north versus in the country versus in the city. I always thought Huntsville was a small town until I moved there. Then I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I think it's very personal and also has to do with the family you upbring and all.
Right, because I was also going to ask about family input.
Yes.
Even if you are open, if they have those kind of views that your parents had.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm very lucky that my family is open.
Yeah.
Whoever, they always say, and not saying these words, but we trust your judgment because you're the one who's going to live with this person. So whoever you bring, we welcome them, embrace them. So no problem. The doors are open. I'm very curious personally. I love different cultures. Well, I'm here. I love to travel. I'm very interested in learning other things. I'm open for it, and I love it. I don't know who I'm going to marry, but hey.
I want to ask the question, what if you were dating somebody or marrying someone and you have a Caucasian child, you have a black child, but you marry somebody who is not of that race? How do you think your children, or how would that, how would that coincide with where you are right now?
I have to say, I've got a very unusual, living in the country. And so at one point, my divorce attorney is an African American. And I was talking on the phone to a friend about something he had said, and I get off the phone and my son's asking me about it, and he says, well, Mama, is he a black man? And I sat there and I'm having like the, oh my gosh, we're about to have this, like this is not, my mind's going there. Like I'm not raising some racist bigot, and that is what's going through my mind. And I said, well, son, actually he is. He says, oh good, you can trust black men.
Oh,
Wow.
And I sat there and I thought,
And that's another conversation going through your head.
and I mean, it's just like being quiet, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, because we have a lot more white people in our life than usual, so we're exposed to more pathetic loser white people than anything else. Yeah. And if the black men that are in our life are auto mechanics, a black man, extremely upstanding, godly man. And I sat there, and my son has met the attorney, very upstanding, godly man. And I sat there, and it didn't really matter. It was funny that like white folks are the losers.
right. That's what he's
like that. Right, the sorry men he's known in his life have all been white.
Wow.
And it was just because we in the media and everything, there is that kind of racism thing there, and I don't. Once again, I have my little specific type, and the older I get, the narrower my view is, and so I don't know if that's going to be an African American, an Asian, or anybody, but I don't know that my son seems to not be aware,
Right.
and so it's not something that I see being a problem. If
And
it goes that way.
my son's pretty practical. He's just like, if you're happy, I'm happy for you, but I'm not babysitting. Doesn't matter what the child comes out looking like, he's just not going to do it.
Okay.
And he has made that very plain and clear. And I don't even know if I'm going to have another, but that all depends on who you're with and all those things. But as far as race is concerned, my son, my family in general, I don't want to say that they don't care, but they don't care.
Yeah.
They just want you to be happy, They want to make sure that whoever it is someone who's leading you to Christ daily. As long as that's what's happening, they're perfectly fine.
Well, to wrap it up really quick, let's end on this question. If a person has a hang up or issue about any of these boundaries that we've talked about, is that really a bad thing? When is it okay to have a hang up on height or a hang up on, when is it okay? So I don't want to leave people feeling like, oh, if I'm not really there, then there's something wrong with my view.
I think it's always okay. I really do. But recognize where the hang up has come from. You need to pray about it. Lord, is this something that I should even have a hang up about? And go from there.
Okay. Quick, and Mindy, you want to
I was just going to say, I think it falls in the category of knowing yourself and knowing what makes you tick and what you're attracted to and what your boundaries are. And are there some issues from your past that are even worth getting over? I mean, I'd be in therapy the rest of my life if I tried to get over absolutely everything on the planet.
Right. Well, thank you. It's been a fantastic discussion once again. And remember, you can chime in if you go to the Facebook Simply Single page. It used to be Patty Conwell. Well, I've changed that. I think Simply Single would be easier to register. So Simply Single page on Facebook, at Patty Conwell on Twitter. And you guys, if I post questions, please, please, please answer. Don't just like the question. Answer the question so we can involve you in the show. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Baby doll was in the dollhouse, Barbie Ken, how it's supposed to be. But it seems like something's missing from the equation, you and me. Tell me, why am I not having fun? Yeah. In this game we play. Well, if you're tired trying to fight the fantasy, you need to hear what I have to say. Okay, get your dancing shoes on. We're gonna have some fun today. Hey, hey, single people all over the world say God made me this way. Hey, hey, you don't need nobody else to have some fun today. And just snap your fingers from side to side and say I'm okay.